Hi, I'm Kevin, and I'm here with Janine,
G'day.
and this is our podcast, Inward Journey, and we're here on One Jury Land.
We are, and we'd like to acknowledge all elders past and present and those emerging.
Great, we did it.
We did it. Our topic today is going to be on misinterpretations.
A misunderstanding as well?
Yeah, I think that's all part of it.
Okay. Is it?
It can be.
Like I might be reading or listening to something, Yell gets up.
Oh, yeah.
Yell gets up and goes, I'm so angry with that. What are we going to do? And I go, yeah, no, we're not. You can have a go at it now, and then that's it. We're not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, that's where our focus is.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it, but no one can hear me thinking about it.
Bianca does this thing with me. She'll walk in the room and go, "You're so loud, Mum." And I've not said a thing. She says, "You're thinking really loudly." You know how sometimes when you're looking at someone, there's something about them, there's a presence about them. It's like, whoa, what's actually happening?
Is that them or is that you?
It's them thinking loudly. That's what I'm
So, if I'm sitting here with you and I don't know what you're doing, when you're doing something, your face or your body says you're feeling angry, and why are you so angry? That could be entirely wrong, couldn't it?
It could be, yeah. But it's more the thinking loudly, the loud thinking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Not so much at whether it's angry or anxious or whatever. Sometimes it's just more determined or strategic or...
I'm trying to think of thinking loudly situations that I've observed. I can't.
So, I guess what you were trying to do was interpret what the person was feeling.
Yes.
Do you know...
You can't do that, can you?
No, you can't.
You'd have to ask.
You'd have to ask.
Oh, excuse me, are you angry? And if they say, why don't you fuck off? Then you pretty much know.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
They're angry. It's pretty good bet.
Either way.
Or they could say, oh, why do you ask?
My family have this thing. They say to me, she's angry about me. But apparently I do this face. When I'm confused, I have a wrinkled brow.
That face, that's the one.
That's the one.
Yeah.
They say, oh, she's angry. And I just say, no, I'm not. I'm confused. But particularly when I don't understand something, I do this face. And I'm like, it's probably a neurodiverse thing for sure. But I do this face that I don't understand.
Nobody can see the face.
Oh, no, they can't. But that's why I said it's a furrowed brow.
Yeah, that's true.
But I remember being in counsellor training. I can think about it in other arenas too, even back in school, where a teacher or lecturer would pinpoint to me and go, Janine, what else? You're worried about something, or this sounds like it's not working for you, or tell me what's happening for you. You've got a question. And then inevitably I would have.
Okay.
Because I've been sitting there like it's not making sense to me. And I'm a person who really likes to understand something.
All the time?
Pretty much all the time.
Okay, all right. Yeah. I probably don't ask enough. I think I should ask people more of what's going on. I assume a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so even really simple things like, it's funny, walking down the road with a friend and walk past a woman and she smiles at me and I say to my friend, she's in love with me, I wonder where she lives. Should I go and ask her for a phone number? And my friend will just fall about laughing. You go, come on, keep going. Yeah.
That's sort of a fun interpretation.
But it's a misinterpretation.
I would say it's a big leap from a smile.
Yeah.
A big leap.
Well, I can do better than that.
Okay.
I could be like, oh, yeah, likes me, that we'd probably be really good together, and we'd fall in love, and then we'd get married, and then we'd get divorced, so why bother?
Okay. Wow, that happened quickly. The in love, and then it's all over.
Yeah. Let's forget about it.
Oh, we're getting some great information about how your mind works, Kevin.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll stop talking then.
No.
Yeah, so...
That wasn't a stop talking.
So that's a misinterpretation. Somebody smiles. Who knows why they smile? Maybe I smiled. I can't remember. Whatever. They smile.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
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 If I want to know what's going on, I can stop and say something.
This topic came about because... Do you remember?
No.
It was about the words that I talked about in a previous podcast mentioning the term fantasy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, of course I remember. That's right. It was towards the end of a podcast on resentment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a feeling that what happened is I used the term fantasy, and later on down the track, your mind heard that. And tell me what you did with it.
We were finishing the podcast, and you were then going off to Kenya and safari. That's right. So that's how it came about. You were talking about going to Kenya, and I talked about all the places I wanted to go, the things I wanted to do.
Some lovely goals.
And what I heard,
Yep.
didn't hear that, but you did say something like that. But what I heard was, but you haven't got the money, that's a fantasy. That's what I took away from it. So that when I remembered it later on, forget that. And I couldn't push it down. And so when it finally came back, I was angry with you.
Yes.
And then we sorted it out.
What we actually did, which is fascinating because you think about it, we had a recording.
We did.
We had a recording of that conversation.
So we went and listened to it. That's right.
So I wonder what happens when people don't have a recording, because they can't
have an argument.
Definitely, but they can't go back and check it out.
So if we didn't have a recording,
yeah.
And I'd gone away and tried to get rid of it, suppress it, and eventually got angry with it, and then the next time I saw you or spoke to you on the phone, and I said, I really don't like what you said about that, about me living in a fantasy, and you would have said what?
I would have said, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
And I would have said I would never say that about you.
Which is what you did say. I remember.
Which is what I... The tricky stuff is that enough?
No.
Yeah.
Probably not. Well, yeah, it would have been, but not immediately. It wouldn't take immediate effect. I'd have to take that and sort of massage it in with the rest of our relationship and go, oh, yeah, Kevin, of course not. Yeah.
That's the tricky thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we were able to go back to the podcast and look at it. And
it was gone.
And it was relevant. And the reason I said that could be a fantasy was I was thinking about other people out there who perhaps weren't applying the work or...
So,
and they wanted, if they'd wanted all these things like you had listed and they weren't able or wanting or willing to do the work, then so it's worth considering that for some people it may be a fantasy. Maybe this is a world I live in that isn't based in any reality. Yeah. And it wasn't what I was saying about you. But in terms of the podcast, it felt really important to cover all our bases.
Yeah. I get it.
And you heard that it was about you.
Yeah. I heard it was about me and I was just living in fantasy. Let's talk about misunderstandings. I've just thought of another one. Which is nothing to do with us. It's from a book, which is a movie now as well, a very successful movie, called The Hobbit. Everybody's heard of The Hobbit, yeah?
Yeah.
So,
I imagine so.
Near the beginning of it, Gandalf the Wizard, my favourite character, arrives at Bilbo's house and blah, blah, blah. Now, they end up sitting next to each other, I think, or whatever. And Gandalf says, whatever his name is, I can't remember. Bilbo? Yeah. Says, good morning. Gandalf says, this is so good. It says, so, are you wishing me a morning on which it's good, or that I should have a good morning? And it just goes on and on and on and on and on. And Bilbo says something like, sit down and have a bit of your pipe and have a smoke with me. And it just goes on. It's incredible. So like the simplest things, like my example of a smile, but it's expanded, but it's expanded verbally. You won't let anything go. It's so funny. It's really, really good. So it covers just everyday things, and people say, good morning. And what do they mean? Instead of saying that, he said he spoke it.
So isn't that interesting? Because I think what you're saying is that there are some of us, maybe even you, Kevin, that with something small can take it and run with it, almost not catastrophize it, but maybe sometimes can make it bigger, different.
Mountain.
Make it
into a mountain.
Yeah, and have this interpretation of it that's perhaps not fair on you, perhaps not fair on the other person.
Yeah.
When the communication could be simple or could be resolved or could be clarified.
So what I have to do is I have to be a Gandalf and actually say things out loud. Maybe the other person will have something to say. But in the process of doing that, I'll just realise that this is all that old rubbish and just forget about it. Yeah.
I'm glad you came back to me to talk about it, because that's the risky stuff. Because if you hadn't, then you may have felt like I was always making these assumptions of you, or I was saying that you're living in a fantasy world, or I was saying these things about you that weren't true.
But now I'm also a catastrophizer.
That's what you picked up. That's what you picked up from this discussion.
I'm nodding.
Oh my God.
Yes. No.
I guess you could. If you wanted to. You're welcome to. Is it going to serve you?
Well, I have this part of me which will pick up only the most negative.
Oh.
Yeah.
Look, I think part of that's a human condition.
I think it is too.
However, you have got an ask for it.
I have an extra dose, don't I?
Yes,
and I know where that comes from, and we're not going to talk about that.
No.
No.
Okay.
Well, maybe I don't know where that comes from. Anyway, yeah.
It comes from your past.
Yeah, somewhere.
Yeah.
Somewhere. Deep and dark and ugly past.
It's interesting because I often talk about those people that are occupational therapists, or those people in safety, any sort of form of safety. If we're thinking about building inspectors, all of those things, they can be very detailed person, and they can be thinking about safety and be very critical, and that's a brilliant skill. They want that. You want those minds to be sharp and to find the areas that are risky, or find those
What sort of mind is
concerns.
that? Is that analytical?
Yeah. But if we do that with every conversation that you have, you're going to be exhausted.
You'd be crazy. That's what you'd be. So even I don't do that.
Sometimes you have.
Really? Well, all the time?
I said sometimes.
Oh, yeah, I agree. But I meant even I don't do that all the time.
No.
Yeah. I didn't finish the sentence.
Okay. Yeah. We're just clarifying here.
Well, I'm misunderstanding because I didn't finish the sentence. I was trying to think of other kinds of misunderstandings.
Oh, I think they occur all the time.
Oh, yeah. I've thought of a kind of misunderstanding, but I can't think of an example at the moment. But when you're somewhere, must be with friends, I guess, and there's a conversation going on, or maybe you walk in and there's a conversation going on and you're sure that they're talking about you, or you can hear a conversation that you're not involved in, and you're certain that they're talking about you.
Yeah.
And they're not. But, the way that you find out that they're not is by doing, which is like, that's it, bugger them. I'm never talking to them again.
Yeah.
And maybe saying something to one of them, and then you realise that they weren't talking about you at all. They were talking about a movie, perhaps, or who knows,
Yeah.
That happens all the time, or that potentially happens all the time.
Yeah. It's not appropriate that the person be given a hard time for making an assumption around something that has occurred regularly within their life. And it's a way of protecting themselves, understandably. I think, however, there is sometimes it's really worth checking those things out. And maybe even holding the other people accountable,
That's what I was going to say, actually asking.
Yeah.
So, what are you talking about? You're talking about me, swallow with pride.
Oh, I've got this inkling you're talking about me.
It's about sort of, being brave enough
can I clarify anything? Can I help you out here?
And then they can say, well, we're talking about you. We're talking about the guy at the bus stop this morning, whatever they were.
Yeah. Or they might say, oh, we really admire this about you.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
so
that be
you might
nice?
still got it wrong.
Yeah.
That they were talking about something entirely positive thing. Yeah.
And if they weren't, then hopefully their discomfort or their embarrassment or their guilt about that could cause them to change their behaviour. Or it gives you good information around them as, are these people I really want to spend some time with or not?
Yeah. But I guess the most common kind of misunderstanding comes from not listening. Like the fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
Is the not listening properly, or not listening is not quite right. Not hearing entirely what's being said.
I think when you're triggered, it's so much harder to listen to that stuff.
Yeah.
Do you need to stop for a minute? Asha's being very tricky.
She's being Asha. She was looking up with me with such beautiful eyes, going, why aren't you paying more attention?
So there has been some misunderstandings between us at times.
Appointments.
That might have been one. And we have mentioned it before, but
yeah, we have.
What I like about our discussion just now is that it adds in what occurs.
Yeah, the detail of what occurs.
The detail of what occurs. So you started telling me about when I text you that I've needed to change an appointment. I'll need to change an appointment with you. Unfortunately, I can't make this one.
Yeah. So you would phone sometimes. Text phone didn't matter.
Yep.
The way that it worked for me was that you would say you needed to change the appointment.
Yep.
And I'd be agreeable. I'd say, okay, and we'd work out a time, and then we'd say goodbye, and within a very short period of time, we'd go, bugger. That's not okay. Clearly it's not important enough. Like I would be like, this isn't important enough for blah, blah, blah. And you might have actually told me why you're changing the appointment. But I didn't hear it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you saying it's not important or you're not important? What did you think?
It's. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not important. Which is sort of infers that I'm not important as well.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And isn't that interesting? Because I felt like at that point I'm just thinking, good, that's gone really well.
Yes.
Kevin's really heard that I need to change the appointment because this has occurred for me.
Yeah.
And then all that happens.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't even know about that until the next appointment. And then it's like, whoa, what have we got here? What's occurred?
And sometimes you would change an appointment and I'd be just like, yeah, sure, not a problem. It's like, it was random.
Yeah.
But there clearly was a misunderstanding. You had told me
Yeah, but
it's more
not
than a misunderstanding.
Yeah, it's not quite a misunderstanding.
No.
It's a misinterpretation.
Misinterpretation, because you always told me.
Yeah.
Like,
and if I thought you were shit and I wanted to change the point because I don't want to see Kevin that week, I'm done, kind of thing. And then that might be something very different, but it was not the case.
Yeah. So really what it was doing at my end,
yeah,
it was just like, oh yeah, all this horrible stuff that I think about myself is true.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But the interesting stuff about that is your assumption around the action.
Yeah.
You've made an assumption around this is why Janine is doing that.
Yeah.
But what it does, if it's not addressed, it backs me in a corner. If you don't talk about it, Asher disagrees.
She's got a lot to say today.
She has a bit to say. If you don't talk about it, all of a sudden I find out there's something not right. Something's not comfortable. Yeah. I don't know what's happening.
Great example.
And then I just go, well, what have I done? And I don't always know because I've done bits and pieces that I've needed to.
That happened.
Yeah.
Today. So I'm glad I did. I wrote stuff down because I knew we needed to talk about it before we did this podcast, and I'm really glad I did. So it didn't happen. But what happened was, if I hadn't written that down, there would have been all kinds of stories in my head.
Yeah.
And instead, I just thought, no, I need to talk to Janine about it. I'll talk to her when we meet before we do the podcast, and this is what I need to talk about. And we did.
Yes. What particular thing did we need to talk about? Can you remember? I've gone a blank.
About what happened with the 2 podcasts that we canned.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We canned some podcasts.
We'd never done it before.
No, it just wasn't working, and we were able to work out what had occurred.
Yeah, so it was that.
And some underlying assumptions that were occurring between us.
And and there was me wanting to push our progress on the book along. So I came up with a theory that would work for we as opposed to work for me. and I also decided why we weren't doing it for. I was trying to take control of it. That's what I was doing.
Yeah. And that's interesting because if you're trying to take control of what we do, you actually haven't got control of what we do. And then I did my normal Janine self and went, so what do you need to do because I'm doing this? Because I was separated out.
Yeah.
And that's something I've learned through counsellor training myself and how I work with couples. But I do it myself all the time because I hear when people say we. Yeah. And no, don't include me because I don't know if I can do what your plan's in your head. And I'm not sure what you're planning in your head. And I don't know if this is the same thing I've got in mine.
Well, I did have some good ideas.
You had some great ideas.
But the we thing, no. I agree. Yeah.
Sometimes the fact that we're having conversations about how you're going, how I'm going, what we hope to get out of the podcast today, what conversations do we feel are important, just because we're having those conversations, there's something that occurs. It is an environment where we can talk about all things so that there are not misunderstandings between us.
Isn't that good?
Yeah.
And we even talked about the Facebook thing.
Yeah. You can explain that to people.
Anybody that knows me know that I sort of use Facebook as a notebook. And I know what I'm doing, and it's probably not always a good idea. So I'll write something down because it's come up in whatever I'm doing. Something that I'm pissed off about, something that I'm writing, something that I've read, which has produced a response. And I don't explain it. I just write it. So it can, as a Facebook post, it's way out there often.
Yes. And so I brought that up and went, earlier in our friendship, I went, Kevin, when I was then his friend on Facebook, I had noted there's some unusual things that occur in terms of his posts. And I said, what are you hoping from these posts? Because some of them are a bit bizarre, and I'm not really sure, as your friend, are you wanting anything from me? And you were able to say, no, I just put it out there. And phew.
And then sometimes I look at them
and
go, or somebody makes a comment and I look at them and go, oh, yeah, I don't need that there anymore, and I'll just delete it.
But what was really good about my question was that I then was able to recognise, like, I don't need to do anything here. I don't need to acknowledge, and that you don't have any issues with that. It's not a concern. It was just something that you said. I did say to you, though, maybe you need to write these things in a notebook.
You did. But then sometimes I still want to put them on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, but especially if I know that it's going to produce a reaction.
Okay.
That's not necessarily something that I want people. What are you talking about? Oh, you can't say that.
Maybe we were talking about that, and maybe you're wanting the validation. This is what I'm experiencing. However, I'm wondering, even sometimes you might even just want the conversation.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to have it to you on Facebook, because that's just not me.
You don't need to, because you'll see me.
Yeah,
fine. So that's fine. But, there's all sorts of other people out there. And, sometimes, sometimes I get some good ideas from things that people say. So I think in terms of writing, it's called stealing an idea or stealing a book. Did you know that that's a thing in writing?
No,
that's done.
Okay.
Well-known authors steal a book. They've stolen a whole idea or a whole book even from somebody else, maybe with permission, but from what I know, I think sometimes without permission.
I imagine you're not talking about plagiarism so much as just an idea or a thought, and then this gets embellished from there.
Social media can be quite good for that, so it gives some importance.
So it's interesting, because as we're talking about it, I had the thought that you were wanting validation from the Facebook friendship group out there, but maybe you're not. Maybe
I don't think so.
Maybe it's more around just having a conversation and working out how your beliefs might change or anything. And again, what it also sounds like is there's no pressure on anyone out there to respond or not. It's irrelevant.
They often don't. But I'm looking for the one or two that do.
But it's the clarification of it between us that's the important thing.
Yeah.
And if someone's in their own conflict about your posts or anyone else's, then it's up to them to decide what they need to do around that or any other communication that occurs between friends.
So the validation thing came in somewhere else as well, didn't it?
It came in one of the podcasts.
No, in our conversation recently.
Yeah, because it seemed that you were wanting validation.
Yes.
Of your stories or yourself around your stories. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Well, that was one of the podcasts we canned. That was I renamed them to Canned. Blah, blah, blah. Podcast canned. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so that's Facebook's not like that for me.
Yeah.
It's like this magic. I started using Facebook because I could keep in touch with friends a long way away and on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
And then it exploded and everybody's using it. It's like, over 500 million people using it. There's probably a lot more than that. And I thought, this is great. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's really painful and I don't want to see anything on there. You can just drop a couple of lines on there and you get some interesting responses.
So I guess what we're talking about is empowering yourself to have the relationship that you want with a thing or a person.
Yeah, with a thing, because I don't know most of the people who respond.
Yeah.
And I got 600 or 700 people and friends and I probably know 60 of them.
Okay.
A tenth, if that.
Okay.
Yeah, the rest I don't know who they are.
Well, I don't want this to be a Facebook conversation.
No, let's stop there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Facebook. Let's talk about Instagram instead.
Oh, my God.
All right. Anyway, why were we talking about that?
Misunderstanding. And the most important thing is what happens between you and I.
Yeah, that's right. So that's what we were talking about.
And clearing that up.
Yeah.
And again, the hope is that people out there can start to think about what could I or do I need to clear up between the relationships that I have with others.
Yes.
Or it might be that, oh my gosh, I clear up everything, or I feel very cleansed with the relationships that I have, and good on you. Then that ought to be noted as well. Well done, you.
Right. I immediately thought when you said that, I wouldn't believe someone if they told me that. Hey, I don't have any misunderstandings between me and my friends, and all my relationships are completely cleared up. I'd be like, I was totally honest. I'd go, liar.
What about trust, Kevin?
What do you mean?
Well, you got to trust what people say. Maybe.
No, I don't.
Okay, that's right.
Trust what some people say.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
So you're right. It would depend who said it to me.
Yeah.
So, a stranger on the street, I go, yeah, you're lying. You don't know me. Yeah, I don't need to. And I could be totally wrong.
Are we getting the idea that you're very opinionated?
Judgmental?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
And I have a friend who taught me this wonderful thing about being judgmental. You're always hearing people say, oh, I'm not judgmental. And I heard him say one day, yeah, I am. I judge everyone all the time, including myself. And I went, really? He said, yeah, but I don't make it mean anything. So he doesn't take it any further. Just that person, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, throws it away, gone.
I think that's true. I think that we do that.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
It's just like, that group of people, gone. And you taught me something about that too. I remember, I think it was not that long ago, I'd come here and it would be like, oh, really, what's wrong with you, Kevin? What's going on? You got something going on? I'd be like, oh, yeah. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to do this. And you'd sit there patiently listening until I finish, and then you'd say, really? You sure that's worth your energy? Or something like that. And I eventually went, Janine's right. If I spend all of that energy on that, then that's where my energy is and my focus is, and I haven't got anything left for anything else. Yeah. I still do it. But I don't stay there.
You're laughing at me. What?
Because you go,
Well,
I took that. This could be a misunderstanding here. I took that as, not impressed. Let's move on.
No. Oh, my goodness.
There's a misunderstanding?
It is.
Okay.
A clear misunderstanding.
Wow.
What I was actually thinking is that we can actually judge. Oh, I've missed it now. I've forgotten.
Well, I'm not actually. Janine is thinking about it. And I'll keep chatting while Janine thinks about it. I don't have much else to say.
I can't remember. Sometimes judgment is that really important thing that we actually need to keep ourselves safe. Because if you think about it, that's what judgments come about in the first place. So if someone's walking down the street, and might be a group of people, and I'm feeling uncomfortable, part of my body and my mind is judging those people. That there's a group of people and I'm feeling uncomfortable, and so I might cross the street to keep myself safe. There may be no reason for me to do that. Or that might be a reasonable conclusion for me to come to keep myself safe.
Yeah.
And that's a wiser thing. And so those judgments are sometimes important, and that's where they've come about. We might judge people that way. So we want to, I guess like anything with our misunderstandings, is we want to start to unpack them a little bit and go, do they need to be there? Are they there for good reason? Or do I need to challenge that? Is that there for not good reason?
Fair enough.
I guess I talk about it and it sounds like I'm telling you that, but these are things I tell myself about.
Yeah, okay.
And that I'm really conscious around, no, Janine, that's not unsafe. It's just unfamiliar. Or you're just uncomfortable because that's not something you've usually spoken out about. And so that's new for you.
I like
so
the
there's some of
example
those
about
things.
crossing the road. Yeah. If I think I'm in danger, then I'll look after myself.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I remember, I was going off on a tangent, but I'm going to. I remember...
not like you at all.
Oh, no, not like me. When I started karate a long time ago, the teacher was just brilliant. And he lined us all up. And he wanted to know answer for just one question, which is, why are you here? And then people say, I want to be really strong and fast or whatever. I want to be able to fight well. And then he would say, yeah, okay. So what should you do if you were in a situation like we just said, where you didn't feel safe? And we get all sorts of answers like, I'd be able to beat the hell out of them. And that was the most common one.
Mm-hmm.
And he never got the right answer, not from any of us. And he said, no, you should run. And we were like, what? What are we doing here then? We should run? And he said, yeah, you should run. And if you can't run, you talk your way out of it. And if you can't talk your way out of it, then you fight until you can run. That was his view, and that was what he was going to teach you in terms of karate.
Okay.
It was really good. It's really good, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Because fighting doesn't need to be our first thing that we do. Yeah.
Run.
Yeah.
Talk.
Yeah.
Fight. Then run.
Yeah.
It was all about. You don't need to be there. You need to move away from that. Yeah. This is not what karate's about.
Keep yourself safe. Yeah. Sounds great. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, me too. Stayed with me all this time. Yeah.
Recently, I'd gone to a Pilates class, and that was my understanding that we would be doing Pilates.
Yeah.
Not an unreasonable understanding, except that when we went, and I was all keyed up for a hard workout, and that had been my experience with the Pilates classes, and it was of a 7 o'clock class at night, and the teacher who took it started with a relaxation, and I thought that was a bit odd. And the more we'd gotten into it, the more relaxation she did. And I was getting very confused and somewhat frustrated. I was ready to do my hard workout, and my expectation was that. And so what happened is I had a conversation with her after the class. As I went through the class, I really had to work hard at calming myself to stay in the class. Otherwise, I would have had to leave. But what I ended up doing is having a conversation with her at the end and went, was that a Pilates class? And she said, oh, yes. But it's evolved. And I went, oh, okay. It's evolved into our meditation class and somewhat of a yoga thing, which is not Pilates. But anyway, that was my understanding. I'm not sure that I interpreted it the wrong way. It was put as a Pilates class. Anyway, consequently, she said it had evolved over some years, and she said, how did you enjoy it? I went, not much.
Good for you.
And she said, I saw you. I thought for a moment there you were getting angry. And then I went, no, she's fine. She's just confused. And that I was. There's that face again that I was talking about from the beginning. So I was very confused as to what have I walked into. And then I was able to calm myself as the class went on, and then we had a laugh about it, and I did say to her, yes, I had to work very hard on this, my face and my thinking, before I could actually settle myself to stay, which I did. But I won't be going back.
No, I was just thinking that.
It's not the class for me. There are other meditations and yogas and things that I will do, but not that one.
They could maybe change the name of the class.
That would have been reasonable.
Yeah.
Anyway, never mind. Not my battle.
No, that's true. There you go. There's that battle thing again.
Yeah, I'm really happy. Someone else can have the battle if they want.
I use what you told me so often, like I might be reading or listening to something, and Yell gets up.
Oh, Yell.
Yell gets up and goes, I'm so angry with that. What are we going to do? And I go, yeah, no, we're not. You can have a go at it now, and then that's it. We're not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, that's where our focus is.
Yeah. You've been working very well with Yell over the last, couple of years.
Yell's great. It's good. It's great. We're having a great conversation with my inner teenager is great.
Yeah, I don't mind having a conversation with your inner teenager either.
Sorry?
I don't mind having a conversation with Yell either.
Well, you probably did some time ago.
Yeah, when Yell took over and continued to take over and then took over some more.
Yeah.
That was somewhat problematic.
Yeah, but now that's good. No, that's not good. No, we're not doing that. I get it, and we can be angry, and we can have all these feelings, and no, we're not going to tip the world upside down.
Good idea.
Yeah, we're not going to. I'd love to let my inner children acknowledge what's going on, express themselves, but not to take over and go stomping off somewhere.
Great example there.
Yeah. So
I think it's about time.
I thought that was really good.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed the conversation. I certainly did.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do this again sometime.
Okay, I'm thinking in the next week or so, Kevin.
Well, that sounds like a really good idea.
I hope you've enjoyed the podcast as much as we have.
Yeah, and soon I hope we'll get some people to join in. Ask questions?
Yeah.
We almost did a couple of times.
I know. I think we frightened them away.
Yeah, never mind.
Never mind.
Someone will turn up.
Go well. Have a great couple of weeks, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.